Okay, we're about 2 minutes past, so we'll begin the webcast. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar, The New AX. This will be a first look at the latest release of MS Dynamics AX for most of you. My name is Sandra Knight and I'm a Senior Sales Consultant with Tridea Partners. Just a little bit of information on Tridea Partners. We have been a MS Gold ERP partner for over 10 years, providing Microsoft ERP and CRM software solutions and implementations to companies throughout the U.S. in varying business sectors such as life sciences, food and beverage, discrete, and also process manufacturing, among other industries as well. We are headquartered in San Diego, California, and we have additional California offices in Irvine and San Francisco as well. And our East Coast headquarters is located in Boston, Mass. After the presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A, but if you do have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to send me a message using the chat panel, and we'll address that question at the end when we do open it up for Q&A. With that, I'll turn things over to Jason Federspiel, a Senior AX Consultant here at Tridea Partners, who will be our presenter for the webinar today. Jason?
Great, thanks, Sandy. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're going to give you a little bit of an overview of the new AX, as they're calling it. Also has been referred to as AX7 in previous posts. This webinar is really geared towards assuming you have some knowledge of the AX platform and kind of showcasing what's changed with the new release. If you've never seen AX before, it's a good opportunity to see it for the first time, but most of my presentation today is going to be geared around what's changed. So if you're looking for a full-fledged, what can it do, I would encourage you to schedule a demo with us offline. We'd be happy to do that with you. So let's get started. So just a brief agenda. We'll talk about the launch dates of the new AX, some licensing changes. I'm going to go over some key new features, some deprecated features, and then we'll get into a live demo environment and take you through a number of areas in the new AX. And then, as Sandy mentioned, we'll open it up for questions at the end. Okay, so the public preview for the new AX, or AX7, was launched on early this year, January 2nd. And then general availability was launched on March 9th. So it is publicly available now. Anybody that's on maintenance has access to, or can get access to, the demo environment through LCS, and it's been out since March. So what's available today is AX7, or the new AX, in a fully hosted Azure environment. So those that aren't familiar with the Microsoft product of family, Azure is their cloud hosting service. So as of today, AX7, or the new AX, is available for new installations or new implementations. There currently is no upgrade path released. Our expectation and the guidance we're getting from Microsoft is the second half of this year. They will be offering AX in an on-premise. So I know a lot of our clients currently, they host it themselves. That will be an option with the new AX. It's just not ready yet. So they wanted to get what they had out there into Azure, and the rest is still to come, second half of this year. We don't know all the requirements yet, but most likely it will require their latest release of SQL Server, which is due out, I believe, in June of this year. It may also require the latest release of Office to get all of the Office integration functionality. So what's in the new Dynamics AX? It's kind of a one-page slide that touches on the different areas that have changed. The biggest change is the front end, the user interface, which is what we're going to spend a lot of time on today, and the back end to enable this to be a cloud-based, browser-based application now. So some of you may be on CRM Online from Microsoft. They're trying to bring that same experience to AX, to their flagship ERP product. So, things like continuous updates like they do with Microsoft CRM. That's where they're headed. Take it anywhere. You can do it on your iPad. You can do it on your Surface, on your PC, on your Mac. It's all HTML5 browser-based. They've also, with the new AX, they've simplified the user license types. So previously, you'll see here in the user type list, there's a self-serve, a task, an enterprise, and a device. If you're on AX 2012 right now or 2009, you'll notice there's no functional user type, so they've eliminated that. The new cloud-based version of AX that's hosted on Azure, that's out today, has a minimum of 50 enterprise users or equivalent requirement. And they are including things, additional services at additional fees, like additional storage and sandboxes, etc. Obviously, the cloud really lends itself to standing up test and dev environments, and that's another reason for the shift in architecture with the new AX. So let's get into some of the nuts and bolts about what's new. So I'm going to go over some new features first. This is a list. So I have a document. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me or to Sandy. I have about a 65-page document that details all of the new and deprecated features in the new AX, but these are some of the ones that I wanted to highlight for the group. There's a couple nice things in the finance module, ability to export account structures. Those are kind of your GL posting rules. Before, you weren't able to export those to Excel. Management Reporter has been completely integrated. It's no longer a separate application as it was for 2012. Management Reporter's what most of you are using for all of your financial reporting. Also, there's now an option for a global general journal in the new AX, which didn't exist before. Previously, you had to change in and out of companies as you were entering journal entries. One thing to note too in general with the new AX, so Microsoft basically took most of the core functionality that was in AX 2012, R3, CU9, and that's what they've built AX 7 around. So a lot of the, basically that's the foundation. There wasn't the push for AX 7 or the new AX was to get it into the browser, into the cloud, on any device, and all of the back-end stuff they needed to do to facilitate that. So in terms of functionality, if you're on 2012 today, if you're on R3, the functionality is going to be very, very similar. There's a few exceptions, but in general, you can kind of use that as a rule of thumb. Kind of core changes to the application. Obviously, there's no client anymore. You can access from any web browser, so it kind of eliminates the need for terminal servers or Citrix. They also have a tighter integration with Microsoft Excel and Exchange. We're going to demo this in a little bit, but editing in Excel is now quite a bit easier. A nice little feature in manufacturing that I'm going to show you on the production floor. They've kind of got this workspace that will show you material shortages for your production orders. They have the ability to upload an Excel file for your MRP demand forecast. I'm going to show you workspaces. I think you'll really like those. They've replaced the role centers that were in AX 2012. And task guides. This is kind of their training guides that also has had quite a bit of additional functionality added to it. On the deprecated side, so these are features that have been removed. Enterprise portal, again, that's really Now that it's web-based, the Enterprise Portal was a way for people that didn't have access to the full application to access it. Now that the whole application is web-based, there's really no need for the Enterprise Portal. Role Center pages, again, these have been replaced by what Microsoft is calling workspaces in the new AX, and I'll show you what those look like. Virtual companies, we didn't have too many clients utilizing this, but that's also, they've been eliminated in 2012, or sorry, in the new AX. They were a way to share data among different entities, and the new AX has a different way of handling that. Obviously, the client has been deprecated. There is no client to install. It's just a browser. On the development side, don't know how many on the call are technical in nature, but some of the integration methods have been eliminated. AIF, which we've had some clients utilize in the past. They've done a lot of work in the data import-export framework in the new AX, and that's because they moved it to the cloud. They've also enabled OData. So there's a bunch of different integration methodologies that have changed in the new AX. Also, the AOT, some of you may have heard that term. It's basically a developer interface to AX that you used to be able to access through the client in 2012. You take Control-D, it would take you to the development environment, and you could view the tables and forms and classes and all that. Now, in order to do that, you have to view that through Visual Studios. So it's just a little bit of change in how the information is accessed. Also, there were several reports built into AX 2012 for financials. They're labeled here as GL/SSRS reports. Those reports have been eliminated in the new AX. They've been replaced by Management Reporter. So, all right, so I'm going to hop out of the PowerPoint slide here, and let's log in to AX. So the first thing you'll notice, I'm just bringing up a web browser. Again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but AX was built to run on Safari, Chrome, IE, and Microsoft Edge, the new browser. I'm using IE for this demo. I'm just going to click, I have the link bookmarked. So I'm going to go ahead, log in. So what I'm showing you on this demo machine was stood up in early February. You probably saw as it popped up that it said it was a technical preview of AX. So if you were to log into your account, if you're an existing AX owner, or you were to request access to a demo environment, the formal release looks slightly different. Some of these icons have changed, but the basic functionality that I'm going to show you today is all there. So this is the login screen. I'm logged in as system administrator, so I'll show you in a second here. That's giving me access to all of these workspaces down here at the bottom. So layout has changed considerably. I think Microsoft's done a very good job at trying to simplify the user interface and make it easier to navigate. So up on the left-hand side here, and they've also stayed consistent. If anyone on the call is using Office 365 or CRM Online, the look and feel is very consistent with those other applications. So your menus now are here up at the top. It's an expansion menu. If I go into accounts receivable, I go into orders, I can get into all sales orders, and it brings me to the sales order screen. If I click here, I can go back home. They've added a nice search functionality. This is for searching pages in the application. So if I type in customers, it's going to bring up a list of all the pages that contain the word customers. So if I go down here to sales and marketing, all customers, it's taking me to the all customers list page. Those of you that are familiar with AX, this looks very similar to what it looks like in 2012 at this point. A couple other things about navigation. So in AX today, in 2012, they had area pages, and they had the area pages broken out into a common, reports, setup. They've completely changed that menu structure now, and what they've done now is they've tried to group frequently used pages or screens at the top of the module that you're in. So if I go into sales and marketing, at the top of every module are the workspaces associated with that module, and I'll get into that in a second. But then what they're trying to do here is show you the pages in that module that are most frequently used. So they've got customers first, and if I click on that, it's expanding to all customers. If I do the same thing with sales orders, I've got all sales orders or open sales orders. And then if I click on open sales orders, it's expanding again. So again, it's trying to simplify the options in the navigation process. Again, I'm system administrator, so that's why I have access to every module. If I was a typical user, they're probably only going to have access to one or two modules. They've carried over some of the same features that were in 2012. You'll notice next to any menu item is a star. So I can click the little star, and now if I go to my favorites, I've got all sales orders and open sales orders. And then I can navigate right to that. If we go back to the home page, there's also down at the bottom here is any recent pages I've visited. So open sales orders now is at the top, all customers, etc. If I had any work items, if I had invoices to approve or something that was workflow oriented, you would see it. You would see it there on the right-hand side here. A couple other things about general navigation. If I go up to the settings here in options, and I go to my personalization, I can change a couple nice things here. I can change the density of my screen. So if I'm working like I am right now on a computer, I might want more density. If I'm working on a tablet, I might want less because it'll be harder for me, to touch on the menu items. So that's a nice little added feature. This other one too, when I initially saw this, they have different color schemes. I was like, yeah, that's nice. It's no big deal. But one of the things I find this useful for is keeping track. If you're in a test or dev environment, that's an easy way now. You can make your test and dev environments a different color than in your production environment, so that you know which environment you're in. So those are just a couple of things on the personalization front. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back home here. Okay, the other nice thing too, it does fully support your browser zoom functionality. So as you zoom in, the screen resizes, and you'll notice this more on other screens that I get into. It automatically resizes based on your zoom of the browser. So I'm going to go back to, we'll go down to 125% here. Okay, so what are all these cool icons in the center? So these are now what in AX they're calling workspaces, and these are meant to be assigned to a worker or user, and they're meant to kind of group everything that person would kind of use to job, or at least the key tasks. So I'm going to go down here to sales order processing, and I'll show you a couple of these. So the first thing you'll notice is up here are the tiles. And I'm sure you've seen these tiles in Windows 8 or Windows 10. It's the same concept. They're giving you a snapshot of your day. So these are the tiles. On the right-hand side, these are links to other areas. As somebody that does sales order processing and inquiries, these are other screens that I might frequently use to do my job. At the top here, I can also create new items. These are actions. So I can create a new sales order, I can create a new sales quotation, return order, and customer right from the screen without having to go to the all sales order screen or navigate to another screen. It's all right here. If I click on one of these tiles, you'll see here I've got 4 unconfirmed orders. If I click on this, it'll bring up my unconfirmed sales orders. So that's where it's getting the 4. Now I can work on these sales orders and go ahead and confirm them, and then they'll drop off and that'll update. These tiles you can customize, so you can add additional tiles. You'll see here there's also other views, delayed order lines. So this would be all of my order lines that are delayed. I can click on Find Sales Order to do a sales order search or a customer search. So let me go back. Another good one that I wanted to show you was the production floor management workspace. So that, again, the concept here is each user would have 1 or maybe 2 workspaces that they work in. And it's kind of going to be their first place to go when they get in the morning. So this is showing me all of my production orders. Okay, I'm a manufacturing operation in this case. I've got production orders. These are jobs that are yet to be completed. Again, I can link to my all production orders or other resources here. I've got a little graph here showing me, how many. I've got 87 that haven't been started. Okay, so it's just a high-level summary. I can set my date range up here. One of the new features I mentioned in the overview was the ability to see material availability on your production orders. So I just clicked on that tile that said production orders to release. It showed I have 7 production orders that need to be released. You'll notice this column on the right now shows me where I have material issues. And if I highlight one of these orders, you'll notice at the bottom here, this critical on-hand inventory is showing me which material I'm short on. So I'm short on this crossover cable, and now I know a little bit more detail about that production order before I decide, am I going to release and start that production order or not? Another nice feature, this is kind of a minor feature, you won't even see it in the documentation, but I thought it worthy of pointing out. If I click on a production order, previously in AX, when you went to start a production order or release a production order, there's a number of settings associated with releasing and starting a production order. Those settings previously were all user specific. So Joe would have to set up his settings the way that they do business, and then his coworker Renee would have to do the same thing. Now there's this button at the top that says make default for all users, and that really ensures that they're all processing or starting sales production orders in the same manner. So again, it's a minor thing. You won't see it listed in the documentation, but I thought it's worthy of note. I'm going to go back to our home page here and just show you one other one here, cost administration. So again, you can embed into these workspaces, you can embed Power BI, which is Microsoft's newer business intelligence application. Um, and that's what these graphs were done in. If I change this to product name, I can see where my production variances were, what product line they were over, and down here there's a simple graph that's pulling together my material, manufacturing, and indirect costs. So again, I think the workspaces are a really nice way to organize things. And I think Microsoft's done a good job here making it easier to get around. Okay, now I want to show you a little bit more about some of the core pages. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to search for customers again and go to my all customers page. So one of the things at the top here, I've got a filter box. If I type Contoso, and oops, it's on the account name. Okay. So what you'll notice there, and this remembers what I searched, what field I searched on before. But so I was searching, when I first came in and hit Contoso, I was searching on the account number. I just selected name, and now it's searching on the name. I could search by any of these fields, just like AX 2012 today. It's just a little bit different. If I remove the filter, I get all results. If I wanted to search by a column, I can do that. I can right-click, hit the drop down here. Here are all my conditional searches. Again, these are very similar from AX 2012. They're just in a little bit different of a spot. So I can say begins with, contains. If I say contains, and I put a 3 in here, well, we'll do 30. I'm showing all the customer groups with a 30. If I click on any column, I can sort by that column. Okay, A to Z, Z to A. So again, a lot of that same functionality that's in 2012, just shown in a different manner. I can remove columns. If I want to personalize invoice account, I can rename it. I could call it something else, or I could hide it. And you'll notice as soon as I did that, it removed the column. You can see here it's showing me that my data is still filtered. If I go ahead and clear the filter, I'm getting all my results now. So one of the other things that have changed significantly in the navigation in AX is those of you that are on 2012 today have probably experienced having a number of screens open at the same time. You start drilling in on AX, and it's opening new screens all the time on you. And for power users, I find it helpful that you can have multiple screens open. For new users, it can be confusing because you've got multiple screens, and sometimes in AX 2012, AX won't let you leave a screen unless you've closed an intermediate window. In the new AX, all these screens are actually being stacked. That's why the back button works. So if I go back, it's just going to bring me back to where I was before. But if I click on this again to the customer, I can also pop out a screen. So let's go in under customer and go to customer transactions. Okay, so I'm currently seeing all the transactions associated with Contoso Retail Detroit. if I click this button up here to pop it out, notice it popped out this window, and behind it here is my customer detail window. So I'm going to take my customer detail window, and I'm going to dock it on the right side, and then I'm going to dock my transaction screen on the left side. Now what I'm going to do is go back to, and these are still linked, so I'm still seeing the transactions for Contoso Retail Detroit. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to expand this box, which is showing me kind of my list of customers, and I'm going to choose somebody else. I'm going to choose Cave Wholesale. And notice what happens is I see the details here of Cave Wholesale. I see their credit limit, etc. But now on the left-hand screen, I'm also seeing their transactions. So this is a way you can still use multiple windows and multiple screens and navigate. So if you were reviewing sales orders, you might want a sales order detail screen, you might want a sales order list screen, so you can go through and review all the details. So let's go back. I'm going to close this and go back to full screen mode here. Looks like I did it too quickly and now it's not responding. Let's see if it'll recover. It wouldn't be a demo if something didn't go awry. So let's... Alright, I'm going to go back in here. I'm not sure why it bombed on us there, but we'll log back in here. Okay, I'm going to go to my recents here. I'm going to go to all customers. So the other thing I wanted to show is still a lot of the personalization capabilities, and I'll show you some more of the advanced filtering. So in terms of personalizing a screen, a very common thing to do in AX is to add additional fields to a grid screen like this. So this is my list of customers. Yeah, I've got customer group. I've got cash discount. What I really want, I want to add the customer credit limit because I'd like it in this view. So I'm going to right-click on the little checkbox at the top here and go to Personalize Grid. Okay, it pops up this little box at the top. I'm going to click Add Field. And I'm going to go down here to Credit Limit because I want to add the credit limit, and I'm going to hit Insert. Okay, you'll notice now I have this field called Credit Limit. Again, if this is a field, if this is a field I want to move, I can personalize credit limit, and I can move it to the left if I want it more closer to some of the other data in my grid. Okay, I can move it to the right, I can rename it, I can hide it, I can skip it in the tab sequence. Okay, that's all. These are all things that you could do in 2012. They're just a little bit different in how you do it in the new AX. As before, there's options to export and import personalizations. And again, you can show and hide columns that you've hidden. So let's go back here. So a little bit more on filtering. So you'll notice there's this filter box on the left-hand side here. So I can go ahead and hit this. And now I can kind of do some advanced filtering. For here, I'm going to put in where the account is only US, so we should see the DE001 drop out as soon as I hit apply here. And it did. And And now maybe I want to add another filter field, and I want the name. I'm going to select name, and now I want Contoso. And hit apply. So now what I'm seeing is all of my customers that begin with Contoso or contain US in their account number. So again, that's just another way to do some advanced filtering in AX, in the new AX. And go ahead and reset that so we return to all of our data here. And again, you'll notice as I hide, things get squished. If I hide the filters box, it expands and takes back over that real estate from the screen. Just like in 2012, we have fact boxes. So without going into any of the customer records, I can see some key details. So I can see the customer's primary address. I can see recent activity, what the last invoice amount was, what their last payment date was, and payment amount. And again, if I don't want that information, I click the little slider here and hide it out of view. In 2012, some of you may be familiar with Edit and Grid. So Edit and Grid was a way to allow you to edit in AX similarly to how you would edit in Excel, in kind of a spreadsheet mode. So they've eliminated that as a second screen, or a separate screen in the new AX, and it's all contained in just this screen. So if I click Edit at the top here, you'll notice my grid changes here. And I can go in this Contoso Retail Chicago, I can click on it, I can hit the drop down, and I can say, no, I don't want that in customer group 30. I'm going to put it in customer group 80. Okay, it's giving me a warning. If you change the customer group value, the default dimension values for the group, I say okay. But I can also just type it in. And so again, without having to go into each customer record, it's allowing me to make edits. And I can make edits to the currency. I can make edits to their cash discount, any of the fields here. And then I just hit save, and I've saved my changes. Escape key in the new AX works just like 2012. If you make a change and you don't want the system to save that, if you hit escape, it'll prompt you and tell you, do you want to discard your changes? You can just say yes. So next I want to show you kind of some of the enhancements with Excel. So just as in previous versions in 2012, I can export to Excel. So any of these screens that are grid-based, that aren't detail screens, I can export to Excel. And I'm going to say open. And it opened on my other window here. Okay, I happen to have only one record highlighted, so it only exported that one row. But if I had unchecked that one row, it would have exported everything. I'm going to close this now, so that's nice. But the other thing we can do now, I'm going to uncheck this, and I'm just going to go back in under all customers just to get us out of edit mode there. The other option I have here up at the top is to open in Excel. So I'm going to click on that. So now what you're going to see, as soon as I bring Excel back over to this screen, okay, I'm going to enable editing. And now what you're going to see is it's going to connect to AX. So this is Excel running on my desktop. Okay, it's prompting me again for my credentials. So I'm going to go in, log in. Helps if I type it correctly. So it's authenticating me with AX. You can see down in the right-hand corner here, it's flashing a bunch of different info messages. And it's going to retrieve the data from AX and bring it into Excel. So those of you that may have used the connector in 2012 know that it's a little temperamental and didn't work as seamlessly as I think it should have. It's gotten much better in the new AX. So now I've got my data in front of me here, and just like before where I was going to change the customer group, okay, let's say I want to change all of these to 90. I'm going to copy down. I'm going to tell it to copy the cells. So I've now just changed from forest down to desert to all 90, and I'm going to say publish. So what that's going to do, publish successful, workbook updated. I go back to my AX window. I'm going to get out of this screen, go back in, all customers, and you'll see now they all say 90. So super powerful updating. If you're doing mass updates, you know, it can be tedious sometimes to go in and update each record individually. So again, I think that's a much nicer integration that they've got with Excel now than they've had previously. Okay, the next thing I want to show you are task guides. So some of you may be familiar with in AX 2012 there was Task Recorder. So it's been enhanced a bit in the new AX, and they're now referred to as task guides. So this is the online help. There's a wiki help, and there's also task guides. I'm going to bring up an existing task guide. I'm going to do a search for sales order. So a task guide is like a step-by-step instruction manual for how to do specific tasks. So I'm going to pull up this one created by Microsoft called Create Sales Orders. So when I first open it up, what I get here is just a list. So maybe I've done sales orders before, but I'm like, hey, there's this one piece I don't quite remember. I'm going to review the written instructions, see if I can just refresh my memory. That's great for more advanced users. For new users, though, they've added this great new feature called Start Task Guide. So what this is going to do is really guide the user step by step on every step in the process. So you'll notice as soon as I hit Start Task Guide, this box popped up and it says go to Sales and Marketing, Sales Orders, All Sales Orders. So let's follow that instruction. I'm going to go to Sales and Marketing, Sales Orders, All Sales Orders. As soon as I do that, notice the box moves. Now it's saying click New. Notice that's also the steps you see here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and click New. Okay, now it's giving me more instruction, telling me about the drop-down list. Okay. It's telling me to find the customer. And click OK. Again, very step-by-step. It's moving to where it wants me to click. It's also now, you'll notice, this isn't a particular action. it's just telling me some more pertinent information about what I'm doing. So this would be a great way to put in specifics to your company about how things should be processed for this particular function. Make sure you check this, make sure to do this. So it really, I think these are a great tool for training and also on an ongoing basis. You've got somebody filling in for somebody who's out. You can create these task guides from scratch. I don't have time to go into that today, but it's fairly straightforward. You hit record, you start recording your actions with the mouse. You can edit these notes, put in new notes, and even be specific about, do you want them to enter a specific number for a field that they're filling in, or do you just want it to say enter, the customer number, those sorts of things. So a really powerful tool, the task guides. I'm going to stop the task guide. I don't need that anymore. And then I'm going to close the sales order, show you one more thing, and then we'll open it up for some questions. So one of the other nice things that they've done with some of the drop-downs in the new AX is they've made it, I forget the term they called it, but I think it's smart contextual search. So if I start typing Cave here, you'll notice it locates on Cave Wholesales, the customer name. However, if I get rid of that and I start typing US-004, it's now locating on the customer account number, not the name. So those of you that have used 2012 or 2009, you've probably had to go into a window like this, hit Control-G to bring up the search box, and type in either in the name header or the account header what you're searching for. They've done a nice job with the drop-downs now to make it so that you don't have to get that specific. It's smart enough to know where it's finding the information from and where it's searching from. One other thing on all of the screens at the top, so those that are familiar with 2012, this is your grid view. Again, this is the all sales order screen. These are your ribbons at the top. So if I click on a particular tab in the ribbon, you'll see the options that appear for that tab. Most of these options are identical to what you see in 2012, but there's also an action search box here, and I can search for what I'm trying to do. So if I type in confirmed, I'm getting confirmed delivery dates. So there's a couple different searches, the global search here, and then the action search. This is specific to the sales order page that I'm on. If I was on the customer page, it would be specific to that customer page as well.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any more questions, so we will end our webcast for today. If you do have any follow-up questions or would like a one-on-one demo, please reach out to either Jason or myself and we'll get that scheduled for you. So at this point, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and hopefully we will see you on a future webcast. Thank you. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.